Hi, and welcome to my channel. In this video, we will take you with us into Yellowstone National Park. This will be the fifth stop in our 2-week trip from Chicago, Illinois to Yellowstone, the Grand Tetons, and the Rocky Mountains National Parks. On the way here, we stopped at the Badlands National Park and boondocked a night there. We explored Mount Rushmore and stayed the night at the Devil's Tower RV Park. We took Highway US 16, drove all day, and stayed the night at Buffalo Bill State Park. This park is about 40 miles away from the east entrance of Yellowstone National Park. Next day and early in the morning, we hit the road in order to get into Yellowstone as easy and early as we can. This will allow us to find good and available parking for our RV before it gets too crowded, especially in the main attraction areas there. The drive from Buffalo Bill State Park to Yellowstone was absolutely beautiful. We drove through Shoshone National Forest. This is one of the first nationally protected land areas in the United States. Along the side of the road, you will see the North Fork Shoshone River following the highway between Cody Town and the east gate of Yellowstone National Park. This river has its birthplace beginning at the east edge of Yellowstone National Park. It travels many miles of gorgeous western country before meeting with the South Fork at Buffalo Bill Reserve. A big part of this river is available for fishing. Some has easy access and some don't. After driving about 40 miles, we reached the east entrance to the park, and because we came early, there were no lines and we went through quickly. The East Entrance Road is one of the 5 roads that provide access to the Grand Loop Road and the rest of Yellowstone. We stopped by the river for breakfast and to reload more coffee. The road passes by Sylvan Lake, and this road also brings you right to the Yellowstone Lake, the largest mountain lake at such a high elevation. It stretches 20 miles long and 14 miles across. We have been very surprised for the huge number, hundreds of thousands of fallen trees throughout the entire park, especially after we entered the park. This made us think that Yellowstone was an overrated park. We read about this and found out that the altitude and the dry air in the park are the main reasons you see all these dead trees, and we found that to be very interesting. We kept driving along the lake. The roads at this part of the park are nice, wide, and smooth. As we got around the corner, we started to see smoke rise from the cliff and people stopping taking pictures. We had to stop and take a look. This is called the Steamboat Point, and it was so cool seeing the smoke rise and the water bubble. You can even hear a hissing sound and smell the sulfur. This was a quick stop on the road and the views were amazing. We kept driving on the East Entrance Road, making our way to the Grand Loop Road. You will see more geysers all over the place, and you might have to stop in traffic either for construction or animal traffic. Don't feel bad because you might be lucky and see some wild animals. We had this bison walk by the cars. He was the first one we saw since we entered Yellowstone. We also passed Yellowstone General Store. Beside it there is a very small gas station, maybe the only one here. You will see signs everywhere showing you the directions to the main attractions and how far they are from here. At the Grand Loop Conjunction, we took right heading north to see the Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone. The Grand Loop Road in Yellowstone is the main way to get to the attractions in the park. We had a great time on this road. There are so much to see. Whenever we had the chance to stop, we did. This is a well-maintained road, well-marked and plenty of places to pull over and enjoy the views. We found ourselves driving deep in the valley along Yellowstone River. One of the main attractions that we were looking forward to see is the Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone River. From the Grand Loop Road, we took the right on the North Rim Drive. This will take you to the very nice point of view and overlooks of the fall. If you don't have time to hike and want to see the lower falls, this lookout point will be the choice for you. Park as soon as you find a spot, since this parking lot is not big and it's hard to turn around. There are some spots for RVs but limited, and we were lucky to find a space to park in with our 32 feet RV. After a small walk, we were able to see the falls. This wasn't the best view, but still amazing. We kept on walking on a trail that was parallel to the road until we got to the lookout point, where you can clearly see the falls. This spot shows the colors of the canyon, river, and the fall, making it one of the must-do viewpoints in the canyon. These falls are 110 feet high. The sounds and just nature beauty will leave you breathless. We decided to hike down to the lower lookout point. The hike down was easy and fun. Parts of it was steep downhill boardwalk with stairs. However, you have to climb it back up, and the altitude makes it seem more difficult than it really is. Be prepared for some stairs. We took our time resting and making space for others to pass. The path is narrow and can accommodate 2 people, but there is no railing to hold on to. I highly recommend this hike. The views are definitely worth it. We made our way back to the Grand Loop Drive heading north, and we stopped at the Canyon Visitor Center. It was a 2-mile drive. The parking lot was big and easy for a big rig like ours to maneuver in. There were plenty of RV parking spots that are close to the entrance. The center was closed at this time due to the pandemic, but the general store was open, so we decided to go in and check it out. It's really a cool store, clean, and they had a huge gift and souvenir selections. We were looking for a magnet that had Yellowstone National Park on it. They had so many options to pick from, but we settled with this bison one. Next, we took Norris Road, which got us to the Grand Loop Road again on our way to the Mammoth Springs. We found ourselves high above on a ledge driving next to a massive gorge. The road was narrow and really bad, with a lot of potholes in it. The drive was very scary and not comfortable in the RV. This line was so messed up and had a crack in the middle that made the road tilt, and we felt pushed to the edge of it. If we had known that Yellowstone had roads like this, we wouldn't have came in the RV. Instead, we would have brought our car with us or even rented one for the day, because to be honest, this was so scary and I wouldn't recommend it to big RVs. At one point, we had to stop to let traffic behind us go, and as we got closer to the Mammoth Springs, there were more traffic and it became busy. We couldn't find a place to stop since there was few spots to park in, and with the RV it was impossible. We didn't know what to expect from Mammoth Springs, and at this point we realized that the spring was on our left and people were parking and hiking up to it. We started to look for a spot to park in, but the designated parking area did not really provide good RV parking. If you have a small or short RV, you might have a chance to find a good and safe parking spot. We started to approach a small town called Mammoth. It's a small and historic town. At this point, we started to see RV parking spots, but they were far from the springs, and we have to hike up to them. We were tired at this point, so we decided to skip this attraction and just move on. Coming to Yellowstone for the first time made us realize that you can't really see all the main attractions that you have planned for. But that is okay. This way, we have a good reason to come back and visit again in the future. We did end up checking the Mammoth Springs the next day, as I will show you later in the video. We kept going on Entrance Road, heading to Yellowstone North Entrance to see the Roosevelt Arch. This road has a lot of turns and up to 7% steep points, but the landscape and the views were amazing. The river running along the way and the mountains in the distance are just beautiful. At some parts on the road, we got close to the mountain and had some warning signs of possible fallen rocks, and we did see some on the road. We started to feel the change of elevation and the pressure on our ears. Make sure to have some gum with you to help you release the pressure. We found this nice parking spot beside the road just by the river, and we decided to give the RV a break and dip our feet in the water. This is the kids' favorite thing to do. The water was so cold and refreshing, just perfect on a summer day. We reached the north gate to Yellowstone and can see in front of us the Roosevelt Arch. They had construction going on this day, and we had to take a small detour into Gardner town. This town is the center of activity for visitors to the park. You can find a place to eat, stay, and lots of fun activities like river rafting, especially that the Yellowstone River runs right through the town. It's about 5 miles away from Mammoth Springs. We stopped to take pictures by the Yellowstone National Park sign, and we were lucky to see some wildlife of elk right in the town. Luckily, we found our way to the arch since we wanted to go through this historic icon of Yellowstone. You will find a lot of people taking pictures, and there are plenty of spots to park in. This arch was constructed by the supervision of the U.S. Army under the President Theodore Roosevelt in 1903. We got back into the town on our way to the boondocking spot where we are going to be camping the night today. We left Yellowstone heading north to camp the night in Cabilla Campground. It's a boondocking camping spot with no hookups. The drive was amazing. We got to see a herd of both buffaloes and elks. We had about 18 miles of drive to do before we settled in for the night. It was a very long day since we woke up early in the morning. We had read about this free camping ground and it had a lot of good reviews. People loved it and recommended it. I will leave the GPS coordinates for you in the description box underneath this video. We reached the campground before the night, and we are glad we did. You need to slow down to see the road that leads to it. A lot of people missed the entrance and had to find another way in. I suggest slowing down in the last half mile of what your navigation tells you so you don't miss the entrance. The road was a little rough for a Class A RV. There was some rocks and holes on the road, and we felt each and every one of them. We started to see a lot of other campers and didn't think it will be this crowded. We finally found a spot for us and parked in. This spot was level, but the river was far down. The kids went and checked it out, but didn't like it. To be honest, we will not come here again, and I don't recommend it, especially for the big rigs like ours. Maybe it was just our experience. The neighbors were noisy, the river was far, and there were a lot of mosquitoes. And on top of that, the place was packed. Still, we had a good rest for the night, and were ready for the next day to explore more. The next day, we made our way back to Yellowstone National Park through the North Gate again back to the Mammoth Springs. And because it was early in the morning, there were no traffic or big crowds. And this gave us the chance to find the perfect parking spot for our RV from the Upper Loop Road. It was very close to the Canary Spring entrance. We found ourselves on a long, well-maintained boardwalk overlooking the springs from the top. It's shaded with trees at first, but then it opens to an overlook of the springs. You will be amazed by the detailing of the landscape and colors. There are approximately 50 hot springs within this area. Canary Spring was named for its bright yellow color, which is created by bacteria and algae. This explains the strong smell of rotten eggs. Angel Terrace is known for its pure white formations. This is a wonderful and unique place. I highly recommend visiting. Our next destination was to see the Prismatic Spring. We stayed on the Grand Loop Road, heading south and passed through so many geysers and springs. It's so nice to travel in a Class A RV. It allowed us to see from a higher point and enjoy more scenery. We faced a bison walking in the middle of the road. This was such a treat, and we were so excited to see one this close. On our way, we decided to take a scenic drive to Firehole Falls and check it out. We found out that Firehole Canyon Road is a one-way road and RVs and buses are not allowed to enter here. So we decided to park the RV and hike all the way up to the falls. There are no parking spots, but we found just the space to park our RV in, and there were no signs that says you can't do that. We did not know what to expect. At the beginning, the walk was easy. There are no hiking trails. We walked on the narrow road and few cars passed by, but it was okay. The hike started to get more challenging as we started to go uphill. I guess at a lower elevation, this might be considered an easy trail, but the thin air had us panting. This was a 1-mile hike to the big fall. I recommend that you take enough water and snacks with you and make sure to rest every while. This gives you a chance to enjoy the spectacular views of the Firehole River. Alongside of the road, we found some raspberry bushes with lots of raspberries on them. I guess the bears in this area didn't get to them yet. I had some and they were amazing. If you are not going with your RV, this is considered a scenic drive that any visitors to Yellowstone should not miss. 10 miles down the road, you will know you got to the Prismatic Springs by seeing the smoke and the crowds. This little parking space was completely full. The cars were parking everywhere along the main road outside the parking lot. There is no place for RVs or trailers. We got to see the springs from the RV, but didn't get the chance to see it up close. Considering this to be one of Yellowstone's main attractions, the parking is not managed well, and a lot of people miss to experience this famous spring like we did. Disappointed we couldn't see the Prismatic Spring, we thought we will have a better chance at Old Faithful. Just 7 miles away, we got to Old Faithful. They had construction going on that day, but there are signs everywhere helping you find your way to Old Faithful Visitor Center. It has great facilities, plenty of parking including RVs, gift shop, places to eat, and more. We made our way into the crowds. It was so hot that day, and the steam in the air made it humid. We were happy to find a shaded spot. After 25 minutes of waiting, the famous geyser finally erupted, and it was amazing to watch. This is one of the most iconic places in Yellowstone. Old Faithful is one of the biggest geysers and the most reliable in terms of eruption time, usually every 90 minutes. Old Faithful can vary in height from 100 to 180 feet. Eruption normally lasts between 1.5 to 5 minutes, and it currently erupts around 20 times a day. Old Faithful was the last place we are seeing in Yellowstone National Park, and we had booked a site at Grand Village Campground south of Yellowstone, about 22 miles away from Old Faithful. We started to see a lot of dead trees again. This road takes you to the Grand Tetons, where we will be heading tomorrow first thing in the morning. This road had great views of the west thumb of Yellowstone Lake. We are looking for the Grand Village Road, and there are signs to help us find the direction. Before entering the park, we had to stop at Yellowstone General Store to fix the leak we had in our tire. Good thing we had all the right tools with us. We finally got to the campground and it was full. We had our reservations with us beforehand. We booked 2 weeks ago when we planned our trip. This park is beautiful, but I would not recommend it to any big RVs or trailers. The roads are tight and there are a lot of low trees that scraped our RV. At one part, we had to pull away one of the branches to make it through. This concludes our trip to Yellowstone National Park, and in the next video, we will take you with us to the Grand Tetons, a beautiful place we are looking forward to see.